Hello and welcome to my session on plastics, periods and the wider planet. That's what we'll mostly be talking about today. I'm just going to set my screen up for screen sharing. So bear with me 1 second. You'll see a lovely looking GIF, I'm sure. Fantastic. Okay, so why talk about periods in the middle of a climate conversation? It's a great question. Firstly, because, let's hope this works. Firstly, because there are around 18 million people currently in the UK at menstruation age. So we, as the Women's Environmental Network, want to make sure that as many of those people know about the wide options out there that exist, many of which are far more eco-friendly. We also know that that's a lot of people who are having to spend money roughly every month on menstruation products. So we want to make sure that you have lots of options out there that could end up cheaper for you and also better for the environment. Secondly, because many of the conventional products that we're taught about at school or maybe hear about from our friends and family tend to be single use. Now, that means that we just use them once before we throw them away. And unfortunately, that is in its design quite wasteful. And I imagine during all of these talks during Climate Week that during the summit, that we know that wasteful doesn't always mean helpful to the environment. Thirdly, because a lot of those single-use products also tend to have a lot of plastics in them. So when we throw away these period products, we're also throwing away a lot of plastic, which, as we know, these two things combined tend to equal a fairly unhappy planet. So to put it into perspective of how much plastic we're talking about, on average, a period pad in itself is around 90% plastic. That's not including its packaging. And to put that into even more context, a pack of between 10 and 14 pads equates to around 5 plastic carrier bags worth of plastic. So it's definitely not a small number. And if you're thinking, well, that's okay because I use tampons, well, you'd be right. Tampons certainly are less plastic. They are around 6% plastic. The trouble with tampons, unfortunately, is that they do tend to come in a plastic cartridge, which in itself has to be disposed of. But also the plastic that is within the tampon tends to be interwoven into the fibers. Meaning that even if we wanted to recycle a tampon, it would be near impossible to separate those products. Or to recycle in any way. So you might be thinking, okay, well, that's cool. That's a lot of plastic and oh no, I feel guilty. But how exactly does this impact the environment? Well, one way is that the products that we throw away tend to end up in landfill, and that the plastics that are contained in those period products can take up to 800 years to biodegrade. So that means they're not going away anytime quickly. And in fact, they are actually building. And that can have real life consequences in terms of the gases that landfill tends to emit. And also when rain pours on it, that has a direct effect on the land and the soil underneath. So that's just one way, not ideal. Secondly, around 2 billion menstrual items are actually flushed down the toilet in the UK every single day. That's around 2.5 million tampons or 1.4 million pads. So it's certainly not a small number. And the trouble with this is our sewage system generally isn't designed to take these kind of products. We encourage people to only flush pee, paper and poo down the loo because what tends to happen is any other products tend to build up and create a blockage. And sewer blockages, once the rain falls, tends to lead to overflow and end up in our rivers and seas. Now, of course, that's not great anyway for the sewage system. But to put it into perspective, around 7% of the plastic found on beaches is stuff that has come from the toilet. And what is potentially a little bit more scary is that the 5th most common item on any European beach is actually a menstrual product. So that's more widespread than, say, like a coffee cup or cutlery or plastic straws. So it's substantial in number. And this in itself is having a direct impact on sea life as well. As you can see, roughly every year, 1 million seabirds, 100,000 sea mammals, and countless marine turtles and fish are killed every year due to plastic pollution, just alone in the sea, not including sort of microplastics and things like that. So it is pretty significant, but there are things that can be done. And that is what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to offer you a few different options of other alternatives that you can use. Of those options, I'll be talking about the menstrual cup, reusable pads, period undies, and the reusable applicator from Dame for tampons. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have time for questions, but I am definitely going to try and leave you with as many different options to get information as possible. So I will get cracking on that because we've got only a short amount of time. So the first item that I want to talk to you about are menstrual cups. I'm going to show you 5 different options and just basically inform you of how they work and how to maintain them. So a menstrual cup looks roughly like this. The way it works is by insertion. So if this is the vagina, normally you would have to bend it and sort of insert into the vagina like so. Then once it's in, all it does is sort of pop open and then is held by the vaginal walls. And it tends to have like a suction, so it can't really be pulled or come out in any way. The great thing about menstrual cups is that they aren't made of plastic. They're made of silicone, and you can wear them for between 4 to 12 hours, depending on the brand that you choose. They also last several years. A lot of companies recommend maybe changing or getting rid of these after about 10 years. So they're very, very long lasting and durable. They're also very flexible and come in lots of shapes and sizes and colors, which I'll show you now. So this one that I'm demonstrating right now is the organic cup. This is great because it also comes in cardboard packaging, which you can recycle as normal. This one I recommend to any sort of young people who are just starting their period because it's very small and it's very flexible. And the great thing about these ends, which help you to remove the cup when you're ready to take it out, is that you can also cut them to the size that you need that's comfortable. So this is the organic cup. I'm going to show you a larger one in comparison because it's good to show you just how small these are. This one right here is the lunette, and as you can see, they are largely different. The lunette is slightly thicker in its nature. It's got sort of a thicker rim, which is more helpful for people who've had more experience of periods. And as you can tell, the stem to remove is a lot larger as well. This also has a lot more suction holes, meaning that it's even less likely to slip than, say, a smaller one. I'd like to let you know that they don't tend to leak or anything like that, but they do take a bit of practice to get used to. So if you're not sure, definitely go for the smaller one. I'm just going to show you a couple more due to time. This one here is the moon cup. You can see, again, this one has slightly more structure than the lunette. Also, please do remove the tag. You definitely don't want that to stay on. And finally, my personal favorite that I'm going to show you is the lily cup, simply because this one bends down once you're done. So all you do is it has a different stem, and you just pop it out like so, and then it is ready and malleable to put inside. And then when you're done, let's hope this works for camera. All you do is you just rinse with water, and then you can pop it into a container. This one comes with a little container, pop it shut, and you're ready to go. Once you're done with your period, do sterilize these in hot water. We say boil them for 10 minutes, and that should help sterilize them, and then they're ready to go for your next period. The price, which often tends to be like a bit of a sticking point for people who want to use it but aren't sure, tends to work out between sort of £10 to £20, depending on the brand that you go with. Now, I realize that's quite a hefty initial cost, but that works out at around 20p per period, assuming that you have roughly 12 a year. So in the long term, it is a saving. So that is the period menstrual cup. The second thing that I wanted to show you is the menstrual period pads. Now I'm going to show you 3 different types here because they are largely different. The reusable pads are generally made of cotton or synthetic fibers. They're great because they come in lots of different colors, they come in lots of different shapes and sizes, and the way that they work is you simply would place these into the underwear and clip this around the gusset so that it stays in place like a normal period pad. Once you're done, you just simply fold them up. You use these little clips that are on them to seal them shut. And then when you're ready to wash them, you just place them in the wash as you normally would outward. They're fantastic, again, for people who aren't keen on sort of tampons or anything that involves insertion. They're normally made with lots and lots of organic cotton, which is it absorbs a lot more than sort of your normal cotton. And it's suitable for a range of different flows as well. So this is great for anybody who's sort of light or bleeds more heavily. Now, they also last up to 5 years, so not quite as long as the menstrual cup. But if you take care of them, there's no reason why they shouldn't last even longer. Unfortunately, they are still quite costly. These tend to cost between £3 to £6 per pad. But I would like to let you know that there are actually ways on our website to make your own. So that could potentially make you a saving. I didn't show you so much the sizes, but you can see this is more of a small, this is more of a large. The third item that I was going to show you was menstrual pants. Now, these I think are the best for everybody, whether you're new to periods or less new. This one that I'm holding up right here is the Thinx period pads, and they're great. All they are is they're made from synthetic fiber, so still have some level of plastic within them, but less than your sort of average pair. They've got a nice thick gusset, again made of sort of organic cotton, which will be highly absorptive, and they're suitable again for any range of flows. We recommend changing them kind of the same amount of time as you would sort of a period pad, so every 4 hours or so, although some brands, because of the way they are designed, actually last 12 hours, so you can wear them all day. I think these are fantastic for people who do a lot of sport, because unlike period pads who might slip because they don't have the sticky side, these aren't going to change at all. I'm going to show you another pair just so you have some other ones. This is sort of like a wider pair from Wooker. Again, you can get different styles, different colors, different shapes, and most of them will be marked as to what kind of level of absorption they have. So this one has a heavy flow. And again, they work the same way. They don't have any smell or anything like that. You just wrap them, you sort of put them in your washing bin, and when you're ready, just throw them into the wash. With any of these products that require washing, all I would say is a cold wash tends to get blood stains out better. So if you can put it on a colder wash, do. If you can't, it's not really the end of the world. It's as long as it's clean, it's fine. These you can't really make for yourself, but unfortunately they do have quite a high cost, roughly around £20 per pair, although Modibody does a lot of deals and things like that, so that you can get lots of different options. The other great thing about them, again, is that they last a long time. They say on most websites between sort of 3 to 5 years, but again, as long as you're taking care of them, there's no reason why they shouldn't last longer. And the final product that I want to quickly show you is the Dame reusable tampon applicator. So if you're still going to use tampons, which is perfectly fine, what we do recommend is to make a saving on the plastic, to get one of these sort of Dame applicators. Comes in a little pouch. And all it is the same as your normal one. You just unscrew the top, you take out the cartridge, and then just insert a tampon as you would normally into the cartridge, push, and in goes the tampon. And then just like the menstrual cup, all we'd recommend is that you boil this and sterilize this, and then it's ready to go. So this is made from medical grade Mediprene. It's latex free. Again, it doesn't require changing or anything like that. It is expensive. It's £25. There's no reason why it shouldn't last for life. So hopefully that should make you a saving in the long run. Now, all of these things, generally speaking, you can find either online or in some stores. But what we really want to encourage, and I'm just going to get back to sharing my screen, is that people are aware that you can actually get some of these products in school. So in actual fact, all of the schools in the UK have access to a fund in which they can provide their students with free period supplies. The reason being, of course, is because there are actually lots of children who either can't afford sanitary items or are missing school because of their periods. The other kind of devastating news is that fund that's available to schools, less than 10% of schools have actually applied for it, which means that lots and lots of students are missing out on the products that they should be getting for free. So one of the things that we were tasked to do as speakers was to encourage you to make a pledge this climate summit. And one of the things that I would like you to do is to get in contact with your headmaster or headmistress and ask them to contact PHS to receive their supplies. The reason being is because, of course, that fund that's available to schools will shrink if schools don't take it up. And we want to make sure that nobody misses out on their education just because their school either didn't know about it or hasn't got the designated person to do this. So if you could make that pledge today, I would be very, very grateful. The Women's Environmental Network, you can find online, either through Instagram, Twitter, or via their website. My Twitter is TweetSavePaper, where I talk a lot about menstrual products. And I will be doing work with lots of different schools to try and encourage these conversations to go on more about the environment and periods. So please do get in contact if you think that you want something like this in your school. That's a shout out to teachers, really. Finally, I'm just going to mention some of those brands again that I didn't mention earlier before my time is wrapped up, just so that you're aware of them before I go. So of the ones that I've mentioned today, Dame was the reusable application system. I mentioned 2 different period underwear. This was Thinks, and we had Wooker right here. Also mentioned Modibody as a great shout out. Of these period pads, Earthwise and EcoFem. And finally, on the period pads, the Lily 1 Cup, the Moon Cup, the Lunette, and the Organi Cup. So please do get in contact if you'd like to know more. I'll be around on my Twitter. Otherwise, head to the Women's Environmental Network page, where you can find more about making your own period pads, get lots of discounts, and also know more about these products. Thank you very much.